Hello, everyone. And guys, please feel free to open up your chat box and say hello. We're going to run this session a little bit like we run our sessions in our transformation support community. So the way we generally do that is if you keep your audio muted, but open up your chat box so we can talk. And if you are feeling brave, I can see a couple of people's faces. Please, I'd love to see your lovely faces. And just rest assured, this is an absolute judgment-free zone. We don't care what your background looks like. We don't care what clothes you're wearing. We don't care what you're eating. Just, it's a judgment-free zone. Everyone's welcome here and accepted. It's nice to see a few more brave faces. Oh, beautiful. G'day, Heidi, who says happy Friday Eve. I love that. Hello, Jenny. And guys, while we're saying hello, lovely to see some more faces. I do have some news to share with you, and I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. Emma, our expert, won't be with us live tonight. We deeply apologize for this. Emma did want to extend her sincere apologies, and she wanted me to let you know in her words that she's not a flake. I would never call her a flake. She's one of the most dedicated members of our team. But she was comfortable with me sharing why. On Tuesday, she got some serious news about the urgently declining health of a really close loved one. So on Wednesday, she was traveling interstate to be with them. Fortunately, we were all prepared for the webinar. So Emma will be appearing in pre-recorded form. And we have done these webinars with a pre-recorded guest before, and they worked really well. And in fact, for me as your host, it maybe makes things a little bit easier because I think we always feel as though these webinars are going to be good, and they pretty much always are. But now we've actually seen it all, so we know it's going to be good. Now, I think to maybe even to compensate, Emma Furner has packed your session, and it's quite long. So it's about an hour and 10 minutes long. So strap yourselves in, and if anyone does have to go, we're going to send everyone the pre-recorded, the whole recording of this. So me, Emma, and me, this whole session. So you will have that there. We're going to send that to you in a couple of days. So I will be here supporting you all along the way. I'll be talking in the chat box, and I think we just, really make it as much as we can. Like, Emma's kind of delivered it like she was just talking to you. So we are really looking forward to having a wonderful webinar with you guys. I'm just reading all the chat box. G'day, Lauren. G'day, Janelle. G'day, Adele. G'day, Marianne. G'day, Liz. G'day, Angela. G'day, Marie. I see a couple of people who are already a part of our online community, so welcome to you guys. And it seems a few people are coming on board. So let me share my screen with you first before I pass you on to Emma. I am a bit of a technical nuffy, so can you guys all see that? Rock and roll. Look, the first thing I really wanted to say was on behalf of Emma and myself, welcome, and thank you for your interest in doing some of the deeper work and maybe getting to know yourself a little better. This, what we're broadly calling the deeper work, is an area that our online community have been asking for. So both the members of our online transformation support community that I'll let you know about a little bit about later, and our broader email community on our newsletter. So it's kind of been a bit of a missing part for us that we've recognized as a missing part, and our members have asked for. So we're really, really excited to be bringing it out of our therapy rooms and to you. I do think, though, a lot of people will acknowledge that this work is it can be a bit daunting to explore this area as well. While we might see it as something that could be really valuable or even life-changing for us, it can be maybe a little bit scary. So I just want to congratulate you for having the courage to explore this work, even if it's just taking a couple of little steps into this work. And I'm hoping that what you might find is what a lot of our people find, that while this work can be, every bit as powerful and as profound as you hope it to be, sometimes it's even a little easier than you expect. So let me introduce Emma for people who don't know anything about her. She will introduce herself a little bit more. And if you've been reading my blogs or her blogs recently, you'll know a little bit about her. But just in case you don't, um, Emma is a fully registered psychologist. So she's one of our senior psychologists here at the clinic, Weight Management Psychology. And I do know there are a couple of her clients in here in the session, and as her clients will attest to, both her clients and we as her team members and colleagues absolutely love working with her. She's a real MVP. She's also a psychotherapist, and that really speaks to the deeper work that Emma specializes in. So I wrote a blog about this recently, that a lot of traditional psychology is very mind focused, but many psychologists are going a little bit deeper into exploring emotions and into exploring the body, and this deeper work is the reason why we originally brought Emma into our team at WMP. The third thing that I think is important for you guys to know is that she's a trauma sensitive yoga and meditation teacher. Um, so again, many psychologists who have been practicing in this space for a long time, and Emma and I are both coming up on about 20 years now. I think that we absolutely see the value in the traditional psychology approach. It's a sort of a Western-based model, a kind of a medical-based model, but we also see its limitations. The way I would say it is that there's often a part of the human experience that traditional psychology just doesn't get to. So many psychologists are actually becoming more open to Eastern principles, ancient principles, principles that would border on or even be spiritual. And so I think, as a lot of us psychologists, we're more open to having those conversations with our clients, encouraging them to pursue it. There's research on the benefits of mindfulness, meditation, and yoga now. But some brave souls who were kind of like Emma Furner was practicing yoga when it was actually kind of frowned upon for psychologists to also be yoga teachers. I think that was in our lifetime. It's crazy. But yeah, some brave souls like Emma are actually pioneering the synergy of these areas and actually becoming experts in these areas in their own right. So I think that this work it adds a real element that's really valuable, especially when we're exploring topics like the one we're going to explore today. So I think that's enough of introducing Emma. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to pass you on to another Emma, Emma Sparenberg, who is our online programs manager. We've got Emmas everywhere, and she will put you on to Emma Furner. But I'll be here in the chat box taking the journey with you and back to talk with you at the end.
Okay, welcome to tonight's webinar. I'm so sorry that I can't be with you in real time. But Glenn is there to support you. He'll be interacting with you on the chat box. So please feel free to, ask any questions, make any comments as we go throughout. And, hopefully at some point we do then get to spend time together in real time. But for now, let's just get into it, the deeper work, or at least an introduction to it, I should say. So, one thing that Glenn likely didn't mention in his introduction of me is that I'm pretty much a philosopher, or to be a bit more specific, an existentialist at heart. So basically what I mean by that is that I'm often pondering the big and the deep questions. So things like, the state of our human condition or society, or, our purpose in life, or what the challenges are that we face. In fact, I very likely drive my friends and family a little bit mad in, posing lots of these questions. But fortunately for me, some of them are quite similar. And look, like most other existentialists, I place very high value on personal autonomy and believe that what gives life meaning is becoming our most authentic selves, and the efforts that it takes many of us to become so. And so without going down a full rabbit hole, which I could very well do throughout this presentation, in a nutshell, I'm often thinking deeply, feeling deeply, and, I'm really fortunate and blessed to be in a job where I get to invite and witness others doing the same. And look, today's webinar is no exception. So in fact, my plan here today is to start with one of the deepest, perhaps biggest questions that we can possibly pose. The question being, who am I, or who are you? As well as why this is even important. I will be taking us through some theory and research in this area. So not exhaustive or extensively, but research, all with the aim of hopefully inspiring you yourself to journey that little bit deeper within. And so we will then focus also on ways in which we can do just that. So journey within, and perhaps even become a little bit better place to answer the question, who are you, or who am I? So without further ado, let me just share my screen and get to the who are you. Okay, so yes, I'm getting the thumbs up that you can see that my lack of tech skills have well, I've got the skill there, but so it's now being shared. So who are you? So a big question. And look, perhaps if I was there in real time, I might ask, some brave souls to answer that question, who are you? But please, by all means, feel free to answer the question, who are you, in the chat. And, I think most of us in answering that question, we might come up with, a response that's, our name. So who am I? I'm Emma Furner. My age, I won't necessarily tell you that, but no, I don't mind, but I might give you my age, I might give you where I live, I might give you my job title, I might give you my place or role in the family, I might even give you my eating habits. And look, so all of this does and would tell me something about you, or it would tell you something about me, but none of it really speaks to who you are or who I am on a deeper level. So the question then becomes, what information may we offer instead? And look, the answer to the question, who are you or who am I, truly and deeply is not an easy one to answer. In fact, it's one of those questions that's been both a question and a quest, that's long captured poets, artists, spiritual seekers, and philosophers alike. You know, indeed, if we go back to ancient Greece, the philosopher Socrates himself, you know, really was concerned with that question, who am I? And whilst he, you know, spoke about a lot of different insights and philosophies, you know, the two that I guess I want to share with you are that he declared, one, that the unexamined life was not worth living. He also declared that understanding oneself is fundamental to our existence, our growth, and fulfillment. Indeed, when he was asked to reduce all of his philosophical insights into one, he simply stated, to know thyself. So what exactly does it mean to know thyself? Well, in essence, it encompasses both the acquisition of self-knowledge and the development of self-awareness. So two key terms here. So let's get into those. So self-knowledge really involves understanding certain and various aspects of ourselves, like our beliefs, our values, our strengths, our weaknesses, desires, identity. And it's really about gaining insights into who we are as individuals and what makes you unique. And so, like I said before, that I can often drive my family and friends mad with these questions. You know, I am known to love a pop psychology quiz that really gets into these questions of getting to know ourselves a little bit deeper or in different ways. So, you know, are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Are you a highly sensitive person? Are you a thinking, feeling type? So all of these, you know, questionnaires, whilst, you know, I don't mind about the reliability or validity of them, they're all, you know, something that can give us information about ourselves. And then we have self-awareness. So self-awareness really involves being conscious of our own thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and how they relate to self-knowledge. So it's about recognizing our internal experiences in real time and understanding how they influence our actions and interactions with others. So the way that I view self-knowledge and self-awareness and the difference between them is really that self-knowledge is cumulative. So over the course of our lives, and, you know, whilst that can change, it's more stable than self-awareness, which I think more of in terms of moment by moment, where it's much more dynamic and fluid. So, you know, 10 minutes ago, I could have been experiencing happiness. In this moment, I could be experiencing sadness. The next moment, I might be experiencing lots of thoughts. So it's really kind of dynamic and changing. And so that's, I hope that's, you know, clear in terms of the difference between the two, but that both of them really lead to us knowing ourselves. And so just as the question, and quest regarding self-knowledge and self-awareness has captured poets, artists, spiritual seekers, and philosophers. It's also captured the attention of researchers. So there's been lots and lots of research in various different fields about, these two constructs that we just went through. In fields such as psychology, neuroscience, sociology, we will see, this real question around what is self-knowledge, self-awareness. And, the research really shows that there's lots of benefits. The more or the greater knowledgeable or greater we are at knowing ourselves, the more positive attributes or the more positive benefits that we can experience. So I won't go into them in full detail, but I will, walk us through some of them. And so, as this slide goes through, self-knowledge enables individuals to live authentically by aligning their actions and decisions with their true selves. So when individuals know who they are at their core, they can make choices that reflect their values, passions, and aspirations, which pretty much leads to greater authenticity and integrity in their lives. Self-awareness has been found to be a cornerstone of emotional intelligence, or EQ. And, EQ is the ability to recognize and understand one's own emotions and those of others. And it's been found that individuals high in EQ, they're better equipped to manage stress, navigate relationships, and better equipped or more proficient at communication, especially interpersonally. Self-knowledge has also been found to be essential for personal growth and development. So by understanding our strengths, our weaknesses, we can then set realistic goals, we can identify areas for improvement, we can cultivate new skills and abilities. And, self-awareness or self-aware individuals have also been found more capable of forming and maintaining meaningful relationships. So similar to what, we spoke about in terms of EQ, people high on levels of self-awareness have been found to be able to empathize with others, communicate openly and honestly, and establish boundaries that honor their needs and their values, which is a really important life skill. And then ultimately, self-knowledge has been found to lead to greater fulfillment and well-being. So when individuals know themselves deeply, they're more likely to pursue paths that bring them joy, satisfaction, and a sense of purpose. So lots of benefits there. And, by this stage, you might be asking, how can I get me some of that? At least that's what I ask myself a lot. And, you may even be one of the many that believe that they're already self-aware. I know, if I bring it back to myself, I know that before I entered, my own therapy all those years ago, that I would have said that I was, pretty self-aware. But it's really interesting in that in a large-scale study conducted by Tasha Urich, she's an organizational psychologist in the States. And look, she conducted 10 separate investigations with nearly 5,000 people. And what she found was that even though most people, so 95% of the participants, believe that they're self-aware, only 10 to 15% of those studied actually were, which just kind of blows my mind. That is quite the discrepancy. And look, that's not all doom and gloom, because thankfully in her work, she also talks about ways in which we can change that. In fact, she gives a number of suggestions how we can develop greater self-awareness, and particularly goes into two main pathways. So she talks about interoception and feedback as the main two. And today we'll be covering those, but using the broader umbrella term, which is, often in the research of an interpersonal pathway and an intrapersonal pathway. So two pathways that lead to self-knowledge and self-awareness. So let's then dive a little deeper into what those pathways are, and what they involve. So the interpersonal pathway. So this pathway really involves looking out to others for information or feedback about the self. So the idea is that we can learn about ourselves through our own ideas regarding what others think of us, as well as social comparison. And so social comparison takes on many, many forms, including comparing ourselves to our friends, our family members, our peers, celebrities, or even fictional characters. And look, these comparisons can occur across very different domains, such as appearance, that's a really, really common one, intelligence, success, popularity, wealth, status. It's kind of endless in terms of what we can compare ourselves to and in what domains. And look, whilst this is considered a natural tendency, that it's something that we as human beings all do to evaluate ourselves by comparing to others, it does have its limitations and risks. And so I think we can see this ever so clearly in the media and its portrayal of beauty. So, a beauty that's often manufactured, unattainable, but nevertheless really influential in terms of our own self-perceived beauty. And so I just wanted to show this slide because this here represents exactly what I'm talking about. So it's used in the new Dove campaign, which aims to shed light on just how far retouching apps can distort beauty. So we've got an image here of a real life person, but with this retouching app, this person then looks, very different, very different. And also for me, it looks realistic. So if I didn't see these two, or if I didn't know what this was demonstrating, I would think that that is a real person. And so it can really speak to the dangers of how social comparison can impact us. So we're comparing ourselves to what is an unrealistic portrayal of beauty, which can then bring about feelings of inadequacy, low self-esteem, and even harmful behaviors, like disordered eating or excessive materialism, depending on what they're trying to sell us. And look, this might be a rabbit hole too, but the Dove campaign, I highly recommend, you have a look at that if you haven't already. Especially if you've got young people in your life, because it really kind of helps you, how to have these conversations so that this comparison is not leading to the detrimental effects that we know that it can and does. So I'll stop myself there because that is a whole big rabbit hole and come back to where we were at. So that's social comparison, and it's little wonder, in terms of what I just went through, that we really now consider that a more reliable pathway is feedback. So feedback can be from friends, family, colleagues, mentors, And in this case, what happens is we can gain perspective on our strengths, weaknesses, our blind spots, as well as confirm or challenge the beliefs that we have about ourselves. And so it's not thus an idea or an image of what others think, but actual concrete evidence of this. And, in one of my past lives or past careers, I was in an organization that, like a really big organization, that actually built this into our day-to-day and in like annual reviews. So it was a 360 review where we would have our managers provide feedback, we would have the people that we manage provide feedback, and then we would have our peers provide feedback, all in a constructive way. And look, I've got this little image there, which, is an image that for me represents therapy. And I've got that there because, not all of us are fortunate enough to have those relationships or those people around us that provide constructive and beneficial feedback. And so for me, it's, if we don't have those people around us, then, therapy can be one of those places in which we get that, where, we can receive feedback around, our blind spots, our strengths. We can gain perspective on ourselves, all in a, loving, safe container. So that's the interpersonal pathway. And I really emphasize that because I often slip up with intra, but that's the interpersonal pathway. And so now we go on to the intrapersonal pathway. And so in the intrapersonal pathway, the interpersonal pathway, so it's about looking out, whereas the intrapersonal pathway is about looking within, or what's more commonly referred to as introspection. And so introspection is really the process of examining, observing, reflecting on our own thoughts, our feelings, our sensations, mental states, and it involves turning attention inward to explore the contents of our consciousness and gain insight into our inner experiences. And I'm going to refer to Urich's research again, because she actually found another really interesting finding that, introspection, whilst it has long been considered one of the most beneficial in improving self-awareness, she actually found that that's not the case, which again was another one of those points of like, mind blown. In fact, what she found was that people who introspect are actually less self-aware. Yeah, mind blown. And she actually cited other research that has shown similar patterns, but ultimately concluded that the problem with introspection isn't that it's categorically ineffective. It's that most people are doing it incorrectly. And so she reports that most people are asking the common introspective question, why? And argues that we should instead be asking what. So, a why question, it might be, well, why did I do that? Why am I doing that? Why am I wanting that? Why? Which can actually lead to much more thinking and overthinking. Whereas the what is more about, what did I do? What was it that I did? And can lead to a much cleaner, crisper response. But I would go even one step further here and suggest that on the intrapersonal path to self-awareness, that we're probably more likely to benefit asking no question at all, to not engage the thinking mind. Instead, just come to experience our felt sensations or ourselves. And whilst I would love to take credit for coming to that, kernel of wisdom, I've been inspired by many, many people, authors, researchers, teachers before me. And in fact, one of those authors is Alan Fogel. And according to him, he really says that when we're thinking, we are actually unable to experience our physical selves or our feelings or our sensations. So whenever thoughts come into our awareness, according to him, even if they're thoughts about our felt experience, such as, oh, I wonder what caused this pain, or I need to slow down and focus what I'm feeling, he says that when we do that, we immediately go offline of our felt experience. And so when we go offline of our felt experience, we're really only getting a portion of the picture of self. So we're only getting the mental self as opposed to the physical. And we're only then getting half the picture. So that then brings us to the physical pathway to self-awareness. And before I dive deep into that one, let's just take a little bit of stock as to, well, where we've just been. So a lot of what we've just spoken about is really more focused on the mental. In fact, the path to self-awareness has been a lot of, focus on the mental state as opposed to the physical. And this is not really surprising when we consider a few things. So when we consider the early philosophers like Descartes, who's pictured down here in this cartoon that I just love, where he really conceptualized that the mind and the body are two separate entities, and really prioritized the former over the latter. So really prioritized the mind and thinking over, being and feeling. So as we can see, he's famous for saying, I think, therefore I am. But as we can also see, is the question becomes, well, if I'm not thinking, if I'm not my thoughts, then what am I? Who am I? Do I then cease not to exist, like in this end part of the strip? So, we've then got philosophy that then has focused mind and really kind of separated mind and body. And then we've got, our modern Western world, which that really prioritizes thinking and doing over feeling and being. And, we can see this most obviously in our shared cultural practice of schooling, where we're taught to engage mostly the mind. And often the structures of school are even taught to dismiss the body and its needs. So, if I think back to my days at school, we had scheduled pee breaks. And so basically you're just destined to pee your pants at some point, because if your body schedule was not in alignment with the schedule that was set by the school, then yeah, that might happen. Similar to lunch breaks, similar to like how sitting still was really encouraged, and any kind of movement, at least in my school, was really discouraged. So we can then see it in the structures of our Western world, and how thinking and doing is often prioritized over feeling and being. And then we get to psychology itself. where, psychology itself emerged largely as a discipline focused on understanding mental processes, cognition, perception, and, behavior obviously did become a feature. And, we had then the wave of behaviorism. But it really wasn't until recent times that the body became a feature of psychology, with areas such as embodied cognition and somatic psychotherapy opening up both, our minds and our view of where the body fits in all of this. And look, so it is changing. So psychology itself is changing, with these different fields. And, with even the idea that's coming forth that the body is actually the mind, which is another one of those points that blows my mind, which I totally agree with. But yeah, just one of those things that half of my career was really focused on, just not bringing that into the room. But yes, it is changing. Which, we then, as I said, go on to a deeper dive into the physical pathway and how it is changing, how the body is being brought in. In fact, in recent years, we have seen a real focus on the body, especially in areas such as trauma and neuroscience or neuroscientific studies, which is, just wonderful. And, in his book, The Feeling of What Happens, Body and Emotion in the Making of Consciousness, Antonio Damasio, who's a renowned neuroscience, he explores that relationship between emotions, bodily sensations, and consciousness. And he so poetically puts it that sometimes we use our minds not to discover facts, but to hide them. He goes on to say that one of the things the mind hides most effectively is the body, our own body. And that the core of self-awareness rests on the physical sensations that convey the inner states in the body, which is just such a powerful quote, and which is why, I've bolded it there. Indeed, in citing his work, trauma specialist and the author of the book, The Body Keeps the Score, Bessel van der Kolk, he highlights how stress and trauma often disconnects us from our bodies and hence hides us from ourselves. And so, we really then start to see another barrier as to the physical pathway to self-awareness. And a barrier that's really, really prevalent today, in terms of, how many of us experience stress and trauma. In fact, I would say that is more the exception rather than the rule. That most of, and whether I've got that the right way. So basically, I'm trying to say that unfortunately in today's world, if you haven't experienced stress or trauma, then you're probably more in the minority than you are in the majority. And, he goes on to say in his book, which is a great book, that, that physical self-awareness is really the first step in releasing the tyranny of the past. A past that, most of us could, there'd be things that we might want to release. And so that really speaks to the importance of the body and the importance of the physical pathway in self-awareness. And so we then get to the body. So whether we are aware of it or not, our physical body is always offering something for us to listen to and learn from. And according to Bessel van der Kolk, I think he really talks about how the body is also offering healing. And in addition to his last quote that I said earlier, he also says that trauma victims cannot recover until they become familiar with and befriend the sensations in their body. But the question then is, what is the body offering other than healing? Which, of course, healing is a wonderful thing, and a wonderful thing that, that can happen through the resource of our own body. But let's just then look into what else the body is and does offer. So firstly, we've got subtle sensations. So the body is a remarkable communicator. It speaks to us through the language of sensations. And these sensations can range from gentle, subtle nudges or whispers to powerful signals or shouts, providing us valuable information that we can use to guide our daily lives. And then we've got number 2, information about our physical needs. So the body communicates our basic physical needs, so such as hunger, thirst, fatigue, pain. And these signals really help or exist to prompt us to take action to care for ourselves and ultimately maintain our well-being. So pretty important. I was going to say very important, pretty important, incredibly important. And then we've got automatic responses. So again, like critically important, I would say. The body in times of danger or stress reacts automatically. So it mobilizes our resources to protect us. And, these physiological responses, they're essential for survival, and then they help us to navigate challenging situations. So we don't have to think too much. The body just reacts, takes over, and does its thing. And then we've got number 4, emotions. And emotions are, one of those things that we commonly talk about, but one of those things that's probably also not very well understood. So emotions are a physiological response that are only felt in the body, which is why we call them feelings. And look, this is another one of those, mind blown points that came to me. I think I was going to say a decade or maybe a little bit more, but in that I thought I was really in touch with my feelings, but what I was in touch with was the cognitive or mental aspect of an emotion. So I might say, oh, I feel really angry toward that person, but then I wouldn't have felt that physically. So it becomes more of a mental experience. And feelings, they're really there to communicate our likes, our dislikes, our desires, our needs, our wants. And they help us, they're kind of like the rocket fuel that help us communicate that to others if we choose to do so, or to take action that serves us or perhaps another. And, they just convey a wealth of information about our inner state and our interactions in the world. And then we've got somatic memories. So it's now commonly held that the body remembers what the mind forgets. So the body holds on to our past experiences, including stressful and traumatic events, and it holds on to these as somatic memories. And it's these memories that may linger in the body that just are waiting to be acknowledged, processed, and healed, and are really the memories that Bessel van der Kolk is talking about. That when processed leads to healing, and many other benefits, including insights and that higher level of self-awareness. And then we've got 6, information for others. So our bodies allow us to communicate, connect with others, express ourselves in countless ways. And we might do this through gestures, facial expressions, body language. We can convey our thoughts, emotions, intentions, forge connections, build relationships. And, the interesting thing about this is that we may not always want to be conveying that. But, let's say if you're having a really rough day and you're not really wanting colleagues to know, sometimes that's just too bad. that your body is saying it as it is, which then might, elicit care. That might then forge that connection. So our bodies and our emotions, or the emotions that show up in our body, can be really great communicators to ourselves and to others. And then we've got number 7, the gateway to experience. So our bodies provide the ability to experience the richness of life through our senses. So whether this is the taste of your favorite food, to the warmth of a loving hug, our bodies really serve as that conduit through which we perceive and engage the world around us. And then we've got number 8, truth. So the body communicates truth, so often revealing insights that might be difficult to acknowledge or confront. Like I said about the emotions, what that might convey to ourselves, to another. That can be confronting to acknowledge that, or to have that acknowledged. But it's usually communicating the truth. The messages are honest and direct, and are really there to serve or help us navigate life's complexities. And then we've got 9, which is intuitive guidance. So related to number 8, the truth. So the body can offer intuitive nudges and gut feelings. So guiding our decision-making, our actions from that place of deep inner knowing. So sometimes we might not have the understanding, mentally, like this is why I think that, or this is why I feel that. It's just this deep inner knowing. And by listening to these intuitive signals, we can then tap in to our innate wisdom and again navigate life with greater clarity, authenticity, and hopefully ease. So, that's really what's in a body. So that's a lot. Well, at least I think it's a lot. And so the question then really becomes whether you want to learn the language of the body, whether you want to develop greater self-awareness, greater self-knowledge, and reap the benefits that can really come when we bring the body into focus. And so we're now going to go on to the benefits. So again, another area that's been, heavily researched. And, the research speaks to a lot of benefits, that can come about from us focusing on the body. And yeah, I won't go into too much detail here, but there is a reference list at the end of this presentation. So feel free to have a look at that and you know, if you want to dive deeper into some of the research, then it will be on that list. But when we're talking about benefits, you know, there's things like improved sense of self and a larger repertoire of responses to life, reduced stress and anxiety, improved ability to recognize and regulate emotions, which ultimately leads to greater emotional resilience and well-being, and that repertoire of responses that I mentioned as the first point. When we focus on the body, we also have an increased resilience and, again, more repertoire of responses or coping skills. It's also been found that we can have improved ability to cope with chronic pain. So when we actually focus on the body, acknowledge what's going on for it, that can improve our experience. And it's also been found that, you know, when we focus on the body, or bring the body into the picture, become more focused or embodied, that it can lead to a greater levels of subjective well-being. The benefits just keep on coming. So then we've got also improved sleep quality. It's also been found improved relationship with food. A focus on the body has also been found to improve our body image and our self-esteem, and really kind of foster a greater self-acceptance and appreciation of our body. And so what they've found is when we focus on the body in certain ways, like its sensations and our felt experience, that we then tend not to see the body just as, you know, its flesh and bone aesthetics, that instead we then come to appreciate more of the functioning of the body and, you know, its incredible complexity. And so have a greater appreciation and just all round, well, appreciation of the body. And then it's also been found in the research that a greater focusing on the body has improved other symptoms related to eating disorders, physiological and psychological trauma, as well as substance use. And overall, when we focus in on the body, it's also been found to improve our embodied self-awareness. And so let's just take some time to really, you know, talk more about that, about what embodied self-awareness is. Because this term is a relatively new term that refers to our ability to be more aware of and understand ourselves as a unified entity. So including both the physical mind and the body. And so, as you might recall, when I spoke about Descartes, one of the earlier philosophies where the mind and the body were kind of divided, embodied self-awareness is really about recognizing them as an integrated unit where we've got bodily sensations, movements, emotions, and thoughts, and that they all are important in our sense of self. And embodied self-awareness is really just important in general because it seems to be one of the main contributing factors to all the benefits that we just spoke about. So when we are more embodied, and we're then much more likely, you know, sleep's going to be improved. We're going to appreciate our body. So all of those other benefits that I mentioned earlier, embodied self-awareness is considered to be the main contributing factor to them. And so ultimately, it's the embodied self-awareness that we're really inviting you to journey to, or should I say in, or inward. In fact, we're going to invite you, or I'm going to invite you to do that just here and now. And if it doesn't feel right for you here and now, then please listen to that. Please just notice what's showing up to say, no, I don't want to do that. And really honor that. If, however, it is something that you're wanting to do, then I invite you just to move the body in whatever way feels good in this moment. It might be rolling the shoulders, sitting up in the seat, or whatever it is. Just taking this time to really notice the body, bring it into the picture. And if it feels good to do so, perhaps close down the eyes, or maybe even just focus on a point in front. But wherever you are, wherever you're sitting, standing, whatever position, I invite you just to start to notice your in-breath. So you might be noticing how it feels, or how the air feels going in through the nose. You might notice what happens to the body as that air goes or reaches the chest. Perhaps you might even notice what happens to the belly. You might even start to become aware of what happens when you breathe out. Perhaps you may also like to become aware of any sensations that may be there present in the feet. What do you notice as the feet make contact with the surface beneath? Just noticing. And perhaps you'd like to even travel your awareness up from the feet to the ankles, the lower legs, right up to the top of the legs. Are you aware of any sensations? Just noticing them. No need to ask the why. Just noticing. And perhaps you'd now even like to shift your awareness to your thoughts, noticing any mind chatter that may be present. And perhaps you might even like to experiment with expanding your awareness to now include both the thoughts and any sensations in the body. Just experimenting, knowing that there's no right or wrong. And I invite you now to just let your awareness settle on whatever it wants to. Just noticing. And when it feels good to do so, starting to open the eyes if they're not already. Just noticing what it is around you. Gently letting the gaze scan your environment. And starting to notice the breath again. And making any movement in the body that feels good to you. Perhaps part of that movement's even giving yourself a little pat on the back. Because what you've just done there, or witnessed there, whatever you chose to do, is what we call a mindfulness-based practice. Or more specifically, a body scan practice. I did throw some other elements in there, but, essentially body scan. And it's this practice that can really help to bring us back to the body, its sensations back to ourselves. And it's really this practice that forms part of our series foundation. So let's now get in to the series, the deeper work of knowing yourself. Okay, so the series aims to do a number of things. So, we've got number one, we really aim to create a safe space conducive to deepening your self-awareness and your self-exploration. Number two, we really aim to increase awareness of your felt experiences, those that occur only in the body. Number three, we aim to support you in building a daily awareness practice that focuses on your body and its many messages. Number four, we aim to support you or your understanding of the importance of emotions, and perhaps even have some of your own, I'm calling them brain blow, but it's really light bulb moments. And number five, to identify and overcome certain barriers that make it difficult to become aware of our felt experience and to really know ourselves truly, madly, deeply. And, specifically, we're going to go through barriers such as stress and trauma, anxiety, and defense mechanisms. So that's really the aims, which I didn't talk too much detail through, because you will then go into how we're going to do this. So we then get a little deeper into the deeper work of how we're going to do this. So, you might see the segments mapping the terrain on the road, and then you'll see, I think I've called it rest stop, because I really do see this as a journey, and it's if I think about it as a road trip, where, the terrain can be rough at times, smooth, but ultimately it's really taking us to an awesome destination. So sessions 1 and 2 are all about mapping the terrain. Helping you get in the car, so to speak, because a lot of us, when we think about the deeper work and diving deeply like that, that is a courageous act. So we kind of want to know why we're even doing it. So that's session 1 and 2, where we go into more detail about self-awareness and the importance of the body in becoming so. We also discuss the many reasons as to how and why us humans can become so disconnected from our bodies, which is a really, really, common experience. In session 2, we also even go through a self-report measure, which, as I said early on in the talk, I love, like self-report measure. That's another way of getting self-knowledge, self-awareness. And so we introduce you to a measure that really objectively determines how connected or disconnected you are currently from your body. As well as, we go through exercises to help you reflect on the reasons why that may be the case. Then, on the road. So let's say, yep, you're in the car, then on the road we are. So session 3, in today's session, I took you through a very brief noticing or body-based awareness practice, as I said, like a body scan. And so in series 3, we really discussed the theory surrounding this, as well as important elements in its practice. And we revisit that experientially. In fact, this program, yes, there's content, theory, but it's hugely experiential. And then we've got session 4. So in this session, we introduce a common barrier to becoming more aware of our body and hence our deepest selves, which, as I mentioned earlier, is stress and trauma. And so we discuss stress and trauma. What is it? And especially in terms of our physical responses to it, and how we can easily determine whether we are indeed experiencing stress or a trauma response, or have experienced. Because the really sad reality is that for a lot of us, stress levels can be so high, but we've just adapted to them. That's just our baseline. So we really kind of unpack what is stress, what is a traumatic response. And then we go into session 5 and 6. So in session 5 and 6, we go through ways to manage stress and trauma by breaking its circuit and or introducing ways to buffer its impact. So in the earlier session, so session 4, it's about stress and trauma, but then we really go into, well, what can we do about it? Which there is a lot that we can do about it, and that the body is an incredible resource, and often an overlooked one in terms of being able to manage our stress and trauma responses. And then continuing on the road, we then look at session 7, which in this session, we introduce you to one of my favorite topics and things, which is feelings and emotions. And so I'm smiling because it might then come across that, I love feelings and emotions. So I only feel the pleasant ones, which, yeah, not the case. It's the feeling the full range of emotions, and really going through the theory around that, and how emotions show up in the body. And because there is some research that talks about common ways in which it shows up in the body, but we'll also then start to focus on ways that it shows up in your body. Then we've got session 8. And then session 8 really takes us through the benefits and the consequences of not feeling our feelings, as well as ways or practices that we can connect with them if that is what we choose to do. Because ultimately that's a thing here as well, is that it's all about choice. We can choose to connect to our feelings, or we can choose not. And as one of my previous therapists had said, nothing is really a problem when it's done in conscious awareness. So choice. And then we've got session 9. So in session 9, we then take a pretty sudden turn or sharp detour away from feelings, which some people might breathe a sigh of relief and go, oh, yeah. But we're actually then heading to anxiety. So I'm not sure anxiety is in fact, I know anxiety is not a pleasant state, but it's a really common experience. And I'm not talking about anxiety as in anxiety disorders, but anxiety that is a signal that tells us something's going on internally. And so we really look at what anxiety is, especially in the body, and how we might be able to manage that. Then session 10 is another detour. And again, we might go, oh, yes, a break from feelings, but we're detouring into the territory of defenses or defense mechanisms, which is another way in which we can take ourselves away from feelings, unconsciously. So here we learn what defense mechanisms are, how they present, and the costs that we can incur from their use. So, they work wonderfully or can work wonderfully to take us away from feelings. But most of them come at a cost. And so it's really about building awareness around the defenses that you might be using. And look, because we all use defenses. That is a natural human experience. And so it's really about looking at that from a compassionate point of view. What are the defenses, and are they things that we want to turn against, or things that we want to continue to use? Because again, it's about choice and informed choice. Because the more we know about ourselves, the more we know about the way we operate, the more we can then decide what we want to do. So then we're back on the road to feelings. And, it might at this point feel like a breath of fresh air to go back to feelings, away from anxiety and defenses, but who knows? It's going to be your journey, your experience. And so session 11 is really about inviting you to experience certain feelings and how do they show up in your body. And, whilst that might feel daunting at this point, this is a step-by-step process. So we've really structured this program to be a purposeful, scaffold or step to step, to then so it doesn't feel so daunting going straight to the top of like, right, let's just get into these uncomfortable feelings that my system automatically wants to take me away from. And then we're at session 12. So session 12 is our resting place. So it's where we get to spend time taking stock of where we've been, what we've learned, and importantly, what we've experienced. So it's kind of a place where, you can put up your heels and go, yeah, I've done the hard work. Now let's just reflect on it. And look, just when you thought that you're at the end of the journey, wait, there's more. And I'm not sure whether, I'm laughing to myself because it makes me think of that ad, buy one steak knife and receive another, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but, here's the bonus steak knives. So the first bonus session is really about integration. So integrating learnings and experiences of the past and really then pondering what next. So it's really inviting you to make a conscious choice as to whether you wish to continue to progress on the path of self-awareness, knowing that none of us ever really arrive. Unless we're, all the names that come to my mind are like Buddha and Christ. And look, it can be a wonderful pursuit, but, I think that as humans, this is a never-ending journey. And so it's whether or not you want to continue on that journey. And then, if so, how to do that. And then that brings us to the second bonus, or second steak knives, which is really offering a potential pathway to self-awareness, or continued self-awareness, or embodied self-awareness. And that's, a gentle yoga practice. So that whole session is really a gentle yoga inspired practice that's all about supporting mind and body connection. So it's not about putting yourself in pretzel like positions. Because I myself am past that. I'm not sure what positions I could get myself into, but it's a really gentle mind-body connection based practice. And so, as you can see, there is quite a bit of work in there, which is why we call it the deeper work, because it is work. And like I said before, it is work, not for the faint-hearted, that it is really courageous work. But it's work that is well worth doing. At least I believe so. And, should you choose to do that work, both Glenn and I will be here to support you along the way. And look, again, please make use of Glenn's support here and now by asking any questions, making any comments in the chat box. We really appreciate that. And, I hope that today, may have inspired, even if it's just a little of a desire or motivation to really kind of, know you a little bit deeper. And, whether you choose to take the journey with us, or whether you choose to do that journey on some other in some other way, I really believe that this kind of journey is a really, really fruitful one. And I hope that if you do choose to do it with us, that I look forward to seeing you in real time. And again, I'm sorry that I couldn't this time, but thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciated.
Thank you so much, Emma, virtual Emma. And guys, thank you so much for your attention so far. I always learn a lot when I work with Emma, so maybe your minds are spinning a little bit. I am going to share my screen and probably talk with you for maybe another 5 or 10 minutes, and then answer any questions that you might have. I will say there have been some. Firstly, I got to say thank you for your beautiful interaction in the chat box. And for anyone who is watching the recorded webinar, we will actually share the whole chat box, because I think you guys have really added to it. And I hope that's enhanced your experience. And I also know that it will have enhanced the experience of the people who are watching in their own time, which is exactly what happens when we do the live webinars in the online community. I'm going to share my screen. It's a bit like sharing screen inception, and just checking, can you guys all see that? All good. And I'll keep my chat box open. The other thing I did want to say about the chat box, I interrupted myself, was that there were some wonderful questions in the chat box that I have answered there in the chat box. So if you are watching in your own time, please check them out. So I just wanted to let you know just a little bit about the online community that you'll be joining. And I know there are some members here in the online community, if you choose to do this series, because basically what you're doing is you're signing up for the webinar series, but it exists in this big ecosystem that we call the transformation support community, which is a member only community that's really designed to help people with their eating, their physical activity, their weight and body image concerns, as well as general health and psychological well-being. These are the things that we support people with, and the TSC, as we lovingly call it, is a program that was designed to support you along your journey of transformation. So there is so much in the TSC that can help you. I don't think anyone could ever do it all, but let me highlight a couple of the main things that you get as part of your membership. Of course, you have access to the live webinar series that Emma's going to take you through. And guys, it is going to be so transformational. I did say in the chat box that I have benefited personally so greatly just from putting the series together with Emma and putting the workbook together, which is actually like it's over 125 pages. It's like a mini book, but I've actually benefited from it so much. But there's this treasure trove of all of the historical webinars. So whenever we do a webinar series, each webinar is automatically uploaded into our system, and we have this upcoming series, but we also have now 11 other webinar series that you can delve into independently. And here's just an example of some of the series that we have. We've got actually two great series on creating healthier habits with Dr. Gina Cleo. I've got series on tapping with Dr. Peter Stapleton. So we have some wonderful experts in there. And then I do a lot of the series myself, probably one or two a year. And that self-esteem and body image is just one example of that. So there's this whole treasure trove of webinar series. And it's funny because I think when we started the program, we thought it was mainly going to be about the live webinars, and they're going to always be a fundamental part of it. But as the program's evolving, we're in our fourth year now. We're learning more and more that people really value that treasure trove of historical webinars. And really, especially now with Emma's series coming on board, we can pretty much hand on heart say that if there's something that you're finding challenging in the eating, physical activity, weight, body image space, we've got a webinar series to support you. There are also the audio programs. So we have 4 different audio programs. And Emma Furner's work is, as you know, you're really learning that deeper somatic, body-based psychotherapy that we would love to work through with you. My deeper work is a little bit different. I'm, as well as a psychologist, I'm a trained qualified hypnotherapist. So all of the audio programs, with the exception of one, contain hypnotherapy. And a lot of our members really, really like those audio programs. They're probably some of the easiest programs that you can do, and they often can dovetail really well. They can sort of sit alongside any webinars you're doing. One of the things about the community is that we have learned, we set this community up to help people change in real life. So the word support is in the name, transformation support community. We believe that if you're looking to change something, especially something that might be deep or complex or something that you've grappled with for a long time, you need a lot of support. So some of the support options, this is a non-exhaustive list, are the weekly live webinars. So we're pretty much doing a live webinar 48 weeks of the year. We have such a beautiful member-only Facebook community. It's like a big group therapy, and I think it's half of people's transformation. It's a really, really beautiful group, and it's moderated by myself and a psychologist, another psych, and a dietitian. Emma Furner will be in there for the whole series. So our experts typically are in the Facebook group for the whole series, and just your fellow members who will nurture you without judging. You also have lots of options. You can have accountability buddies, one-on-one pathways to success sessions, which are sessions with myself or the other psychologist, just 15-minute sessions to help make sure you've got your pathway to success in the program. We have a size-inclusive movement library with a body-positive exercise physiologist who's got a whole library of strength and mobility and cardiovascular fitness activities. And there's an app that you can kind of take wherever you go. So there's so much there, and we want to really kind of support you every step of your journey. So just finally, and I think Em has put the link here, you have, thank you, Em, the series. You know all about the series by now. We typically limit the growth of the group. So when a new series comes in, we limit that, we kind of cap the growth just to make sure we can keep the support, everything it needs to be for you guys. So there was 50 places left. 30 of them, a clean 30 have already been snapped up. So now there's 20 spots remaining. If you're watching this video, because we will put this up on YouTube, if you're watching this, in 2 years from now, we will have opened it back up. Even if you're watching this a month from now, we will have opened the group back up. You just won't you'll be doing the series in a recorded way versus doing it live. And there is something kind of special about doing it live. So if you want to save your spot, it's really simple. You just register, and that's the way you save your spot. And because the program isn't quite started just yet, we do have a free trial. So at the moment, the free trial is 2 weeks, and that'll end on Sunday. But if you're watching this later, it'll be 7 days. But it basically allows you a bit of time to kind of get familiar with the program, know the ins and outs of it, and then we'll all be ready to hit the ground running when Emma's series comes up. There is a discount code that we do have for new members, so please make sure you do enter that when you register, because that'll give you the discount for the life of your membership with us. And as I said, I think Emma has sent through the link, so we would absolutely love to see you there. This series is something that I think we started because our members wanted it. We identified it was something that was missing. And I had originally thought that it would be more for people who have deeper concerns or feel really, really stuck. And I think it will absolutely suit people who that fits your experience. But I think it's actually, the more we're getting into it and, the whole thing's lined up and thought through, I think it's kind of actually good for everyone. I think this is something that we're really encouraging a lot of our people to do. So I won't go through those questions because they're all actually in that sort of sales page, the main page about the program, or the series page. And I think a lot of people have asked them in the chat, and I've already answered them, and I am conscious of your time, but I'm going to stop sharing. And guys, as I do stop sharing, thank you so much for your attention and your interaction and all of your time. It's been a massive session and probably the longest session we've ever done. Don't worry, when you do the series, we've got you for 14 weeks, so we can make it all, just break it down into nice, manageable chunks, and you'll typically be out of there for each webinar on the hour mark, roughly. So, guys, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Melinda, you're welcome, Melinda. We're really looking forward to having you in the sessions. It's going to be brilliant, brilliant work, and I hope you've sort of found that the work, I think sometimes we do get kind of quite intimidated or fearful to do this type of work. But I said to Emma when we were going through her slides, and she took me through the whole thing, and I said, what, if somebody can do this webinar, they can do the whole series. So it is work, as Emma said, but it actually is effort, and it's practicing mindfulness and developing the skills, but it's typically not actually as confronting or as hard as people think it will be. So we're really looking forward to having you. Oh, you're so welcome, Lauren. Thank you for all of your interaction and all of your beautiful questions. I know that a lot of people will have had similar experiences and similar questions, so you've really helped us out. You're totally welcome, Fiona. Good to talk to you. And we would love to see you with us to take this journey. I think it is something that can help us if we're sailing on the calm in life, or whether we're navigating some stormy seas. So that's been a really big, long session, guys. So I'm so thankful that so many of you here are still with us, and I hope that it's been valuable. And we'll look forward to supporting you to do the deeper work and get to know yourself a little bit more soon. Take care, guys. Thank you.